hear me, Domine?
Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today I want to talk about Expeditions Rome. In fact, you might say I'm going to review the thing. It's kind of a sequel to Expeditions Viking, which I actually own, but I had only paid like 20 minutes of previously. This one grabbed me a lot easier. I don't know whether it's because I prefer the Roman setting over the Viking one. I've always been sort of more inclined towards the classical civilization era, so, you know, Roman, Greek and that sort of thing, rather than Vikings themselves. And what it is, it's actually quite a lot of things. It basically is a conquest simulator, if you like. So you play the commander of the Roman army, which you get sort of appointed as quite early in the game. Your ship is attacked by pirates, and you end up on Lesbos, and you have to conquer that, and then you move to Asia Minor and, you know, start spreading and doing all the good army things. So there's several sort of different modes of play in this. You have the open army sort of battle system where you pick different stratagems which you can unlock more of that do different things. So it might be more risk to your centurions, or it might make you more aggressive, or stuff like that, and you sort of play that over 4 rounds, and then you generally vanquish the opposing army and they rout, and if you can like destroy them or celebrate and have different effects based on that. So that's your army part. And then you've got the overworld, which you travel about on your little horsey with your legionnaires. They're not called legionnaires, they're praetorians, I think, in this, which is essentially your party members. So you have some ones that are characters, and then other ones that you can just hire at your camp. So you move around, and every so often you'll get a random encounter will pop up, and you'll be given a list of decisions, and that will affect your standings with your praetorians, because some of them obviously have different characters. So if you're kind to somebody, that might be good and all for like the kindly praetorians, but the hedonistic ones that are more self-interested, they won't like that so much. So you do get differing levels of respect, and sometimes if it's too low, they'll just bugger off and do their own thing, essentially, in the combat. The combat, I want to say it's the meat of the game. It's definitely the most developed system, and you will be doing quite a lot of it, but there seems like there's less instances where you do combat over the actual army battle system, because the army battle system is there to capture forts, to increase your territories, to do placation missions where you basically calm the area, to take over various enemy-held facilities, or just take over facilities, although it's not a battle, it's just a time sort of lapse on that. So you send out, so you'll get like a woodcutter camp or a hunting lodge, stuff like that, which will increase your resources, and then you can use that to build more buildings in your camp. But the actual combat that you do on foot as you and your praetorians is actually really good. I mean, it's comparable to something like XCOM in that you have a set amount of movement you can do, and then you can attack. You do have some skills and auxiliary items that can be used as a free action. So, for example, if you've got a pilum, you can toss that, and that doesn't cost you anything at all. You just have to be obviously in range of someone that you can sling it at. And it's really nicely done. There are several different classes in the game. I forget them all because they're all in bloody Latin. But you get basically lads with shields, you get healer lads that have staffs or pikes. You get guys that wield 2 weapons, and then you get archers. So those are the main ones that you'll be using. I'm sure I've probably forgotten one, but there we go. I'm stupid. And they all have different skill trees for each of the classes. In terms of the skill tree, there's a lot to try and like specialize in, but there's only one which you're like, oh, this is immediately useful right now in each of the trees. So you're kind of like, at least I am. I don't know if I'd be doing it differently on a sort of a second playthrough, if you like. But at the moment, I'm kind of spreading them across skill trees and not really specialising, which is probably the wrong way to do things. But I mean, that's where experience comes in, isn't it? So you've got that. As I said, you move about. The graphics aren't, they're not what I would classify as wowing graphics. They don't blow me away, but they certainly do the job. And the overall look of the game is nice and atmospheric. You'll come across a lot of different towns and characters to interact with. So you'll go to a town and you'll wander around and talk to people, and then have to do things. For instance, in one of the first, I don't want to say city, but it's like a temple that you go to. There's like this little temple up on a hill that's on fire, and then you have to use your party to basically bucket brigade it. But there's only a set amount of buckets that you can use. Well, they're pictures, I think, in this. So you have to be careful. I mean, you don't just like tip them, you lob them onto the fire. Tipping would make more sense if you've only got a short amount, but hell with that, we're Roman tough guys. We'll toss them onto the flames. I did fail that the first time I did because I didn't realise I'd run out of pictures. And when I ran out of pictures, I was kind of like, oops, okay, reload. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's probably as close as you're going to get to a simulation of sort of the large-scale aspect of conquest and warfare from that period of history. But also including the sort of minutiae of the small-scale battles that you have as well. So I really like how it integrates sort of everything. You don't have to be like in like Total War when you're going into a new battle and you could be like in there for like an hour or an hour and a half, depending on the size and the scope of the battle. With this card system, sort of all those big things are taken care of. You just have to concentrate on your little encounters, which are the more story-based ones anyway, so they really drive me. I mean, to progress the story, you obviously need to conquer sort of land and facilities and forts and stuff like that, where you can set up your army. The bad guys, who do change throughout the game, so I won't say too much, because there is certainly a decent story beneath it all. But the bad guys will attack your forts. You'll get notice, usually, of when they're attacking, so you can take your army and plop him back in the fort ready to repel the attack. If the attack goes off and your army's not there, well, they'll just take the fort back, and then you need to go and retake it. So it does help. You do have a little bit of time before the attack actually happens, so if you're in the middle of doing something, it's not like you're screwed. But you will tend to play it safe and be back there early. The inventory system for the Praetorians is good. You do pick up stuff off of their bodies. There's also chests and carts littered across the map that you can just walk up to on the overworld, and you'll get whatever's in them. And then you've obviously got like the drag and drop thing in inventory. Not all classes can use the same armor or weapons, but it does a very good job of showing you which armors and which weapons are better compared to the ones you get. So you get the characteristic up for good, up green arrow for good, or down red arrow for bad. And that's just basically how I'm playing it. Although I must say, sometimes from an aesthetic point of view, I'd rather keep the old one, but when you're fighting for your life, I guess aesthetics aren't particularly important. I'd rather have a sword that does a bit more damage, or armor that is a bit more resilient. Shields are a huge thing in the game. They have their own life bar, so you will take damage onto your shield first, and then once that's gone, you obviously start taking damage on your character. There are special skills attributed to shields to regain that energy, which will happen anyway over time unless you're stunned or downed. And it's really nice the way they've done it. There are skills that will just instantly fuck your shield, basically. Like throwing a pillar into a shield character just fucks his shield. And there is skills to repair the shield, but if they don't have them, they're kind of screwed. I do find some of the bad guys quite annoying. Like the guys that do fire arrows and apply burning to you. If you've not got a healer in your party, you're just like, I've got to kill these guys quick before all my guys die a fiery death. And you also have assassins who camouflage themselves, and unless you bump into them, I imagine there's a skill, but I haven't selected it clearly. Unless you actually bump into them, they don't actually appear unless they're attacking you, and then they disappear again. So that's quite annoying, I find. But generally speaking, you don't need to kill everybody in the party. It's normally like kill the main bad guy, although he's probably protected by a load of other guys, or just like thin them out until their morale breaks and they scarper. Occasionally you'll have to like clear the field, but not that often. I'm really enjoying it. It's one of those games where you think about it and you think, oh, I don't know if I can be bothered playing that. That's quite involved, and I have to concentrate, and I just want something to chill. And you're like, well, nah, I'll play it anyway. And then it's like 5 hours later, you're like, oh, I should probably go to bed now. So it is one of those games where I find this happens to me quite a lot. Is you think about playing a game and you're not really sort of amped to play it. It's not like you're like, oh, I can't wait to play that again. You're just like, well, it's a game I got, and I quite like it. That's cool. But when you start playing it, it just drags you in. You're kicking and screaming. You don't have a choice. You're going to play that for a couple of hours. So it's not a great game to pick up and play in like the odd hour. Definitely not. I wouldn't recommend it for that. But certainly if you've got an afternoon or evening going spare, it's a great way to spend it. There's a lot of good characterizations in it as well. You've got the obvious thin, hooded, cloaked figure with an effeminate voice. That's a man that, of course, turns out to be a girl. I mean, that's kind of like a trope, isn't it? I mean, why would they even bother doing that? I mean, it's Mulan, for fuck's sake. I was just like, okay, that's a girl. As soon as her picture came up, I'm just like, yeah, can't see her face, talking in an effeminate voice. That's a girl trying to pass herself off as a bloke. And of course it is, and of course, when she's like, oh, I'm a woman, everybody's like, yeah, we know. Which I really liked, because normally it's like you're always like, oh my god, you're a woman, I can't believe it, despite all of the things that would lead me to believe that you're a woman. But no, in this it's just like, yeah, ops. And your gladiator mate's just like, we would make strong children. And she's like, yeah, calm down. So I actually do enjoy the interplay. There's a lot of different types of characters in the game that perform different roles, but are like, you kind of get to know them and you know what their responses is going to be to the questions that you asked. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. It feels like it only sort of gives you more as you pass sort of certain milestones in the game, whereas I'd like to see that more sort of be a constant. So you sort of talk to your party and then you ask them like 4 or 5 questions each that is obviously tailored. It's much like Mass Effect is that you have like a question mark answers and like arrow answers. Question marks, you can just ask them all and it won't go away, but like the arrow answers are the ones that will actually make a difference to your relationship and be the conversation option going forward. It's not just about gathering information like the question marks. So, but you get through all those questions and then for ages you just come back and say, oh wow, we've done this, I'm back in the camp now, I'll see about like talking with the other people. And you just go to them and they're like, oh, I've only got the like stop conversation option. And that just seems to last a little bit too long for my liking, because I like where they're going with the characters and everything like that. You can't talk to the guys you hire, they're just meat. They do have an opinion about you, but outside of that there's no real communication. So if being part of your squad, when you make decisions it will affect their opinion of you, but you won't be able to talk to them and have a diatribe, which is a shame. You also recruit commanders for your armies that have different benefits. You'll get a screen come up that lists all the centurions you have available to lead your army, and you pick one, and it will tell you sort of like the risks involved, the amount of loot that you can expect to get if you pick this guy, and those guys will learn different skills as well as they progress. So there's a lot to do. I mean, there's crafting, but I haven't really gone into that very much yet. I mean, because like, in order to do crafting, you need to basically have an armor. And once you have an armor, you can then start building weapons. But you can only build weapons up to this level until you need to upgrade your armory. And so there is so much to do in this game. I'm probably forgetting a fuck ton as well. And it's really enjoyable. I mean, I've gone to a Greek, I think it's somewhere from that era and area. I've gone to his villa, had a meal, loosed his gladiators, and killed them all. I'm not a good house guest. I've got no excuse. But yes, I mean, as I said, I didn't really get dragged into Expeditions Vikings quite as much as I have with Rome. I did go back after playing Rome for the first time because I'm like, this is a good game. I think I've got the previous one. And I did, and I hadn't played it for like more than 20 minutes. I went back and put about an hour into it. In my opinion, it's not as good. I mean, obviously, after an hour, I mean, if you played Expeditions Rome for an hour, it won't have opened out just yet to where you're leading armies and conquering things and, you know, doing all of the large-scale stuff. But just going off the sort of small-scale battles, although they're very similar, I do prefer Rome. I don't know whether that's because of the setting, as I say. I'm very biased in that fashion. But there was one mission where I had to defend a bridge and they couldn't get across. But I had like one archer in my party that I could directly control. And the bad guys had like 4. And they were just sort of behind cover over their side of the bridge, pelting me with arrows. So I had to sort of come down after them. And of course, what they do, they run round me and go back up the bridge and win them. I'm just like, well, I'm going back to Rome then. Bugger off. But honestly, it's a great game. I think it's available. Yeah, it's £37 on Steam. User reviews are very positive for it. It was developed by Logic Artists and published by THQ Nordic. And it's gotten great reviews, and this is another one. I heartily recommend this game if you're interested in turn-based or strategy as a whole. It does a really good job of representing conquest of a large army and also throwing it the small-scale engagements and doing a fine job with storytelling and side questing and things like that. So, yeah, pick it up. Anyway, guys, that's been me talking for probably too long about Expeditions Rome. Let me know down below what you think of the game. And, you know, did you play Vikings? Am I completely off about Vikings and it's a great game and I should go back and put more time into it? Because I don't know. I think it's a combination of like not being enthralled with the setting and getting cheaply defeated. Because, you know, I have a massive ego and it hurts all the time. Anyway, guys, hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.